Brought to you by ExpressCare Health and Skin Center. Get in, get out, get better.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. Tonight's topic is genetically modified organisms. So here to answer some of your questions is ExpressCare's Dr. Jitka Lom. So Doc, are there any benefits to GMOs?
Well, the fruit and vegetables, they are engineered, the plants are engineered to be really pleasing. For example, apples that don't bruise, tomatoes that don't spoil, things that ripen more slowly so that the shelf life is longer so it doesn't spoil. So there are many advantages. Perhaps a bigger fruit or vegetable, more resistant to blight. So they're pest resistant. So you get a better harvest. So these are all the advantages. The disadvantage is that we don't really know what the long-term effects of these type of foods are on humans.
Okay, so how can I determine if a product contains GMO material?
Well, in the United States, there's no labeling law, so you can't know. The only thing you would know is that if it was an organic product, it doesn't include GMO because organic products don't use herbicides and pesticides and so on. But that's the only way you would know. If it's labeled organic and it's true, then that's the only way.
Okay, so it's interesting you mentioned that the U.S. doesn't have any labeling laws. But are there places around the world that do ban GMOs?
There are approximately 26 countries that ban GMOs altogether, and about 60 others that have strong restrictions. And so some of those countries include countries in Europe, such as Poland and China, for example, Australia, Switzerland. Many countries have actually outright banned them.
Okay, so one of our viewers, Eric from Manila, is asking, can someone have an allergic reaction to genetically modified food?
It's certainly possible. It's very difficult to discover that. How would you be able to tell that they're allergic to that particular type of modified food versus another kind of food unless you did some kind of comparison challenge, and that would be really very difficult to do. It's possible though. Food allergies are very difficult to ascertain anyway because there are many different kinds. Some of them are delayed. Some of them take several days, if not even longer, to show up. Not like the typical peanut allergy that's instant and immediate. So it's possible, but it would be impossible at this time to test for it.
Okay, so Mary from Chalampago is asking, is there any way that I as a consumer can avoid or can get my food tested for GMOs?
No, you can't get it tested, but you can look at the label and then go online to a website called the GMO Project, Non-GMO Project, non-GMOproject.org. And there they have lists and lists of foods and photographs of the labels that tell you that those foods have been proven to be non-GMO. So if you want to stick to those foods and organic foods, you can do so, but you wouldn't be able to like bring something and then have a test done. You can't do that.
Okay, so say you think you might have an allergy to a GMO or you're trying to find out, you can look up those materials, but is there any way to avoid eating GMOs altogether?
Short of moving to a different country, it's probably impossible. Again, over 90% of the soy, about 90% of the corn, sugar, beets, canola, many foods have already become GMOs. And so they're in the food supply. For example, corn is fed to a cow. So if you're going to avoid corn, but you're going to eat beef, you're already eating GMO product. So it just makes it really very challenging. You would have to choose your food that came from countries that banned GMOs and eat only their food, and that would be pretty difficult if you live on Guam.
Okay, so a lot of people are worried about GMOs. It's kind of a controversial subject. So for people trying to avoid eating these products because they're unsure of the consequences, where can they get products here locally that don't contain GMOs?
Well, you'd have to talk to the local farmers and find out where they're getting their seeds, and also trying to avoid pesticides because that's some of the purpose of GMOs to allow the plants to be hardier. So find out where your local farmer is getting his or her seeds, and then trying to encourage farmers also to minimize the use of pesticides and herbicides.
And so I know that usually organic products aren't genetically modified organisms,
Right.
but I know sometimes not the entire product isn't organic, there's just
Right.
a part of it.
Yes, that's true. Because there's rules about what exactly has to happen for you to label your product organic. That is true. So that makes it even more difficult.